Jeopardy fans were left extremely bothered by a hair-splitting ruling on Thursday's episode. Contestant Kiran MacCormick suffered a $4,000 swing when he was deemed incorrect on a clue based on a debatable mispronunciation. Returning champ Holly Hassel faced Suzanne Goldlust, a marketing manager from Reston, Virginia, and Kiran, a math teacher from Burlington, Vermont. Holly is an English professor from Fargo, North Dakota, and the one to beat after inking out six-day champ Suresh Krishnan. Going into the Double Jeopardy round, Suzanne hit $5,600, Holly $3,600, and Kiran $2,800. Kiran chose first as he was in third place, picking G. Look at that for $2,000, a category entailing every response starting with G. The video clue displayed a painting, and host Mayim, 47, read, "Seen here is a work of the Venetian Renaissance by this painter, whose name means Big George." Kiran buzzed in and responded with what seemed to many fans like the correct response, "Who is George Ione?" However, he broke up the syllables so it sounded like George Gione, which apparently rendered him incorrect. No, Mayim ruled, and Kiran's score sunk to $800 if he had been ruled correct. He would have had $4,800. Mayim then replied when no one else buzzed in, correct response George Ione. Kiran shook it off, and by Final Jeopardy, Suzanne led with $17,700, Holly had $8,000, and Kiran $5,600, meaning he was in far last place. Final Jeopardy, under the U.S. government, read, established in 1938. This congressional group was still issuing subpoenas in 1969 and finally ceased to exist 6 years later. Holly and Suzanne were for the abbreviation of HUAC, while Kiran spelled out the group in full and was unfortunately incorrect with commission, as the last word was committee. Holly wagered everything, jumping to $16,000, but Suzanne wagered $1,000, which was enough to make her the new champ. Sounded okay. Fans in a Reddit internet forum felt for the newcomer and didn't agree with the costly ruling. Many thought his response wasn't necessarily incorrect whether or not the results were impacted. One person wrote, was surprised that George Ione wasn't accepted. Seemed like pretty reasonable pronunciation. Outgoing champ Suresh, who watched the game, agreed, I was also surprised. I was in the audience and thought that sounded okay. A third person replied, there wasn't a protest by him or anything. Suresh replied he wasn't sure. You cannot really see from the audience if there was any protest. If you wanted to protest something, you wait until the commercial break and talk to somebody in the contestant team who would convey it to the judges, and you would find out what happened after. A fifth person wrote, I had to rewind the DVR. It sounded like he paused after the first syllable. They are getting very strict with foreign name pronunciations. A sixth wrote, yes, just saying George Gione instead of George Ione cost Kiran $4,000. That might have meant the difference in this being a runaway. A seventh wrote, pretty harsh call on that final. Didn't matter anyway.